All right, I want to bring in Senator Tim Scott. He's anything but rude. I think both sides of that would agree on that. Senator, it was uncomfortable to watch, but it was also a learning moment. They're going at Trump through Barr. They don't like Barr, but they hate President Trump. This is all about the election and what's at stake, isn't it?
Absolutely. There's no question about it. But here's what we should first notice. We have the right AG at the right time. Attorney General Barr was undeniably powerful. They were afraid of his questions. Frankly, the Democrats were filibustering the answers to their own questions. That is obvious. It is amazing to watch. All around the country, people got to see chaos in Congress run by the Democrats. Do you want chaos around America run by the Democrats? Of course you don't. So yesterday's hearing was only a snippet of what's to come if they gain control. And that's why our voters around the country won't let that happen.
Yeah, Republicans have said they sounded like angry bullies. They were rude. They were inflammatory, wouldn't let him answer a question. It was all for show and not for substance. What are your Republican friends saying about it that were there in the room?
It was embarrassing. Talking to the folks who were watching the hearing, Republicans who paid close attention to it, Barr's answers were actually very clear, very concise, and direct. He was not going to be bullied, and that was a powerful statement as well. The challenge, of course, is the Democrats, they didn't want to hear an answer to a question. And the other thing I want to ask you all, what happened to police reform? Yeah. If the Democrats were so serious about police reform, you have the top cop in America in a hearing for 5 hours, and they did everything except for talk about the issues that are impacting minority communities. Instead of having that conversation, they decided to do what they always do, play politics with America's future, to play politics with America's minority communities. They had no idea at all that they would present to the Attorney General about reforming anything. It was chaos. It felt like what we have it's a foreshadowing of things to come, and it is quite troubling and, frankly, helpful to our cause.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about something else that Washington's trying to deal with, and that is another rescue package for the pandemic. And it sounds like, the Democrats and the Republicans are far apart, but there are also a lot of Republicans who are not on board because they don't think we got the money to spend, even though this is a time of national consequence and a lot of people are really hurting. There's so many people, Senator, in the restaurant industry who, they haven't had a paycheck for months from their employers. So you have got an incentive in the HEALS Act. Can you explain how that would work? Because we've got a lot of viewers who are very interested in it.
Absolutely. Here's the key. We have to have an incentive-based economy. Said differently, we have to find ways to encourage the type of investment in America's economy that produces results. What we're doing is looking at increasing the deduction for businesses when they eat out. That means that instead of having a 50% deduction, you can have a 100% deduction. What does that translate to? It translates to more jobs and more hours in the restaurant industry. 1 out of every 4 jobs in April that was lost were lost in the restaurant industry. That translates to about 5.5 million Americans lost their paychecks because of the shuttering of restaurants.
Senator, would that be temporary or would it be forever? Because there are a lot of businesses that would go, hey, sounds good to us.
Yes, it is temporary. It's through the end of 2020. What we want to do is have temporary and targeted relief because of the pandemic. We don't want to have a permanent policy position that bleeds into 2021 and beyond because, frankly, I believe that we are very close to a vaccine, and we're going to have the most amazing 2021 if we maintain control of the White House and the Senate. We will see a robust economic recovery. Therefore, what we're doing today should end at the end of the pandemic.
And, Senator, it shows you have a business background because you're worried about the restaurants. More people need a business background, but you also have to worry about the gyms. All these business owners, small margins of profit, they've been shut down with no hope at the end of the tunnel, no hope, because not even in a phase. Yes. Meanwhile, part of the reason why in New York, you wouldn't know this directly, in New York there's no gyms because the governor feels though he wants to control every aspect of this and take bows for the awful thing we went through, and being that the numbers are down now. One thing he wants to do is crack down on this. I don't know if you have a monitor there, but over the weekend there was a drive-in concert, and evidently in Southampton, Long Island, they got out of the car and they were very tight next to each other.
Thousands.
He's gonna go and find out who they are. He's gonna get the organizers. I think he's gonna look to put them in jail. Is that the right approach?
It's a terrible approach. How about equal application of the law? This is a new concept for New York State, for the governor of New York State, should I say. Equal application of the law. You can't go after a house party when you have thousands upon thousands of people in your streets without masks on. If you're really concerned about public health, you go to where the largest crowd is gathered and you implement and enforce your mask ordinance. That's not what he's trying to do. He's picking and choosing winners and losers. That sounds like what the Democrats do all the time.
They shut down the FDR Drive and a protest. I'm pretty sure they weren't social distancing in the middle of shutting down a 6-lane highway. No problem there. But if you go out and forget, if you decide God forbid, you actually want to have a good time and maybe you get a little overzealous, instead of reprimanding, he's going to look through video and look to put these people in jail.
This is the scariest thing that we could see in America, is when those in power pick and choose who they want to target. That's exactly the wrong thing. It's exactly what leads to chaos and anarchy. And that's why we're seeing so much of it around the country, is that the Democrats and liberals are literally picking and choosing who to enforce the law upon. That is a dangerous sign, and sooner or later, it gets very dangerous for the most vulnerable people in this country, those who are not in power. That's why they consider leadership the swamp.
All right, Senator Scott, thanks for joining us.
Yes, ma'am. Have a great day.
You too.